Hello and welcome to the second episode of the FQ show. I'm Carl and I'm joined here with Dan and our guest today, Matt Smith from Brisbane City. Gents, how are we?
Well, Carl, thanks for having us on again. Good to be here second/third time and reviewing some games that happened on the weekend and previewing once again as to what's to come this coming weekend, weather provided.
Weather permitting, yeah. It's always a bit going to handle the rain early on in the season, so hopefully it stays
Lovely
away.
Queensland weather.
Classic. Matt, welcome to the show. Pleasure to have you on board. Obviously, you've had a well-established playing career, a Brisbane Roar legend, and a stint overseas as well, and 3 Socceroos caps. It's great to have you on board.
No, thank you. It's a pleasure. Watch the shows and seeing the great things you've been doing. So pleasure to be here.
Good stuff. And how's the head?
Yeah, hence I'm kind of this side. So you
the Zoolander side.
You guys kind of can't see it, so if it's like that. But look, it's hitting nicely. So I'm sure it won't be the last.
Yeah, no, good to hear. And got to win the ball. Did you win the ball?
100% on the ball, yeah. I got a text from Zach's dad actually after. Well, I think I was in Green Slopes Hospital, and I think Zach was in one of the other hospitals, and we both got stitches at the same time. So the ball was there to be won, and for any defenders out there, you got to go and win it, right? So
absolutely, that's
you
what
can't
you're
be
there
pulling
for.
out.
So yeah. Oh, well, we'll crack on with covering the results from the week just been. So quite a big week in the NPL. You had a week down at the NPL in New South Wales.
I did, yeah. No, it was good. Was down, spent some time in Sydney late last week, caught up with a couple of the other member federations and the teams that run the NPL across other states, as well as the community sort of teams as well.
Yeah, nice.
I managed to take in on Friday night, I went to Mount Druitt versus Cronulla Sutherland, and then Saturday took in Apia versus Blacktown City and Marconi v Rockdale. So the 3 of those really good games to take in, all decided by a goal or less. In terms of quality, really interesting. Like I don't want to probably get too technical on the show. And I know I've mentioned this obviously to you, Matty, prior. It's just quite interesting. I felt the way that New South Wales play their football at that level is very much still a go forward type structure. So there's a lot of players that are very comfortable just taking on the defence and going forward, 3, 4, 5 in each league. Whereas I found probably watching Queensland, we're much more of a technical and a more structured competition, especially at that NPL men's level. So it was really interesting. And then just evaluating, I guess, the coaching as well.
I never played in those leagues down south, but when I was at the Knights, we played in a Croatian tournament down in Melbourne, and we noticed a big difference there. Like when I was at the Knights, we obviously were very much possession based and control, whereas playing against the New South Wales and the Victorian teams, they were very, very direct. So there was a big contrast in style. Yeah,
absolutely. And the other key thing I took away as well, I probably had a good conversations with a number of coaches, presidents, clubs as well, just getting an understanding around their infrastructure, their facilities is probably just the number of synthetics. It's something I'll follow with New South Wales as well, but a number of their top men's clubs and women's clubs across all of their leagues have a synthetic option, and whether I guess that's a positive or negatives to be evaluated, but given the amount of rain we're talking about we're having at the moment, at least we know football will go ahead regardless, and having that, I guess, alternative is really important, I think, as well. So.
Not only here, but in Asia, like the 2 clubs that I played in there had a synthetic training field, plus in Thailand we had a synthetic field. So, like I said, whenever there was any doubt, we could just
don't worry about it.
Go on and play.
It's even to your point, Matty, and I don't want to digress into too much of this, but it's just a really relevant point because speaking with some of our clubs this week, again, we've had this downpour of rain, you can't even train. So most of you guys are doing, you're doing road runs or you're doing F45 sessions again or gym sessions, and you're not actually able to get any of the on-pitch stuff.
Not getting touches on the ball, which is the most crucial thing, really. So.
But even for us, I mean, we've been lucky enough that we've been able to hire fields, but then also it's an extra expense and cost to a club as well.
Yeah.
Right. So if you are able to get whatever time's available, then it's of extra fees, right? So it's You're right. When the rain comes, a lot of clubs in Brisbane are low-lying areas, right? So it just washes everything out.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So that was an interesting takeaway.
Yeah. Well, rounding out to the fixtures, first of all, we'll look at the big moment of the week. Matty, did you have a moment across the weekend that stands out for you? Maybe even touch on your game as well a little there.
Yeah, obviously whenever we're playing our games, probably one of the first things you do after you debrief and you set everything up is you look across the grounds, and without even knowing, obviously the Lions Power game would have been a good game to probably be spectators of. Seen a few comments around that. So without watching the full game as such, watching the highlights, it was very get
wild.
into it. Right?
Yeah.
So
4 goals in 20 minutes.
20 minutes or 10 minutes. There's 4 goals in the last 10.
Wild.
So that was probably a big one from this weekend. Obviously referring to our weekend, I think from our point of view, it was a good competitive game down the Gold Coast. We're pleased to get it on because again with the rain, it was touch and go for a minute. So the last thing we need right now is for games to be postponed, right? So it was a good competitive game. It always is with Grey's teams that they're always very organised, which we knew. I think frustrating and disappointed that we didn't come away with more than what we got. I think that we certainly done enough to get something more out of the game. But on to the next.
Yeah, well, Jackson Riley had the Gold Coast United goalkeeper made some fantastic saves, saved a penalty and a goal line save pretty late in the game as well. So you probably feel a little hard done by it. Didn't walk away with that one with at least a point.
Yeah, look, everyone's got contrasting opinions, but I thought that we played well. I thought that we planned and prepped very well, and we had our chances to win the game. And I think the one thing that I don't know, you probably touch on it a bit later, the FQPL to the NPL. It's those very major moments in games.
Yeah.
The clinical moments in games.
Absolutely.
And we had enough chances. I think that, and taking nothing away from Gold Coast United's performance and just focusing on ours, I think that we've done enough to better come away with the 3 points on that one.
Yeah.
Just probably to add on to that, Matty, as well, and with something we've reiterated for the last 2 weeks, Cal on the show, but through conversations with clubs as well, and you'll agree, being in the league, again, Matty, you're right. It's those big moments, and given the league is so close and so tight, you actually can't afford to not capitalise on some of those moments, and or vice versa, because they are so contextual and situational, and they have an effect on results. So again, when you look across the league, there wasn't a game really decided by more than 2 goals. So it's a very close league, or 3 goals rather, sorry. But yeah, it's interesting.
There's going to be no easy games this year, home or away. The standard of the competition is going to be very, very strong. So that's a good thing. It's a good thing for the league, though, right?
Yeah, 100%. Just seeing good, close, competitive games of football. The Brisbane Roar unfortunately went down to Olympic.
As soon as I said it wasn't a game, you started.
Except for that, I didn't want to say anything.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Grossi. Like as soon as I said that, and I saw the result, I was like, but again, I don't think I actually watched most of that game, and to have it personally, I just don't think the result necessarily indicated the game. Olympic took their chances.
Absolutely,
Keegan had a fantastic,
first
game.
Hat-trick, first goals for the club this year. So.
Yeah, and playing out of his skin.
Yeah.
But again, Raw had their chances. Good young team, and they'll bounce back. I'm not really too concerned about the result.
An interesting matchup from that game. Jez Lofthouse actually playing against his former club. He's had over 100 appearances for with Olympic, so the shame to be on the other end of that series.
It's been an interesting situation for him, absolutely.
Yeah.
You've been there. I mean, you've obviously had to play, whether it's maybe not the storied history Jazz had, but you've obviously had to play against Gold Coast Knights. At one point, you would have had to play against Fury when you're obviously at the Roar. So always a bit of an interesting situation.
Yeah, playing against your former club, there's always history, good, bad, or indifferent with former clubs, right? So I think the story of Jez and the most recent NPL players that have gone to the A-League and doing really, really well is like a very, very good story. I think there's some very talented players within this level. So obviously, from the Raw point of view, he gets some good minutes under his belt, and obviously preparing for the actual A-League team. So to play against Olympic, where he's done very, very well for a long time. There's probably a bit of emotion going through there as well. So personally, I always used to look forward to playing against my old teams. I think there's always something on the line, right? So it's good.
No, absolutely.
And then Sunshine Coast Wanderers continue their winning ways with a win over Logan. Now, just before I go into the NPL men's, Dan, your big moment of the week.
Yeah, so I had an interesting one to segue out of football. As I mentioned, I was down in Sydney and I took the opportunity to go watch Mount Druitt and Cronulla Sutherland. About half time, I thought, maybe I should get across the SCG, and I completely mind blanked on the fact that Buddy Franklin in the AFL had an opportunity to kick 1,000 goals. And anyway, the question I wanted to pivot back to ask you, Matt, is there was a point in the game where he's on 999 and there was one game shy of getting to 1,000, which is a once in a generation thing that's happened. And without any criticism or giving any slack to the Geelong defenders, it almost appeared that they were happy and convenient to give him a one-on-one opportunity, like to let him have that chance to score a goal. So you're a defender. My question to you, Matt, would be, is there ever a point in a game, maybe the game's gone, you're down 4-1 and there's a milestone moment, or or anything like that. Let's just say you're marking Bessart and he was up for his 200th or the A-League leading goal. Would you ever give
you choose
someone...
one player in his Bessart, isn't it?
Yeah. Is there ever an opportunity, or has there ever been a time, or would there be a time where you would give one up for free, or just a little bit easier? Maybe you give 50 rather than 100%.
Yeah, I think that. Well, congratulations. That's a 909 is unbelievable career, but there's no way that I'd be giving him a freebie.
Yeah.
There's no way. I think that as a defender, I'd actually be saying you're not going to get this week. You have to wait till next week.
Yeah.
From my point of view, like I don't know too much about AFL. I don't profess to know too much about AFL. But if I was coming up against Bessart Bereshir and he was on 99 goals, for example, and he's came up against us, so I'll be doing my job first and foremost. But I definitely wouldn't be giving him a freebie. And it's even when at the Roar we went, the 36 games unbeaten, and the players didn't really generally acknowledge that record until probably the last couple of games, and everyone else was kind of raising the profile of it, and opposition players and teams would go, well, we're not gonna we're gonna beat them. They would try extra hard to make sure that you wouldn't get it. So I'm off that mentality that, well, number one, you got to do your job, right? But number two, you can, if you want that 1,000 point, you got to earn it, right? So yeah.
No, I think it's a really, really fair point. Interesting.
Moving down to the FQPL 1 men's competition, Redlands continued their winning way. Oh, they won, over Mitchelton.
Started their winning ways.
Yes, that's right. Yep. Rio Moto scored a very good goal. The first goal for that was a banger there. Thunder came from behind twice to get up over Magpies, who travelled up to Toowoomba to play them. The Rochdale Southside game, that was a cracker. Rochdale went down to 10 men from a Scotty Coulson challenge.
Yep. They had some battles with some injuries in the lead into the week, but competed well. And then Southside, came to the party and got a point out of it, got a result. Yeah,
they have been a bit of a surprise pack at Southside this year. They've performed quite well. Got a win in the first round, I believe. So that was good. And then Sunshine Coast away from home at Ipswich, they got 3 points as well. In the FQPL 1 women's, my moment of the week, Peninsula Power getting up over Western Pride. Yep. Fantastic result. They ground out a 1-0 victory there off a corner, albeit a no goal, but it was a well-fought game. And interesting from Peninsula Power, who only got 1 point in the last year.
Yeah, they just continue, again, to your earlier point, but continue their winning ways. They've gone 2-0 now. Alex obviously in charge at Peninsula there, but on top of the table and hopefully vying for promotion from their perspective come the pointy end of the season. Your girls as well. Got a result. Yep,
done well again.
Yeah.
Got a young striker in there that's doing some amazing things at the moment. And it's interesting you should say about the power in the FQPL space, men's and women's. It's talking about Southside. They were very competitive last year. I remember having some really tough games, especially away to home against them. Having strikers, Redlands, Rochdale, all kind of vying. Thunder have started quite well as well. Our girls are obviously, on track for hitting their objective in the season. But from where Power's kind of come from over the last 12 months to where they are at the moment, so you've got to give credit to Power and also Alex for his recruitment and his planning and his preparation. So it's going to be a competitive season.
Absolutely.
Moving forward to see how they get on. Speaking of Brisbane City women, actually, Layla Proctor, I saw something come up from on the socials today.
Amazing.
To see her go well.
Yeah, she was part of our inaugural NPL women's program last season. Done very, very well. Done very, very well, and she had the opportunity to go across to Germany. So obviously we heavily endorsed her going across there, and she's now trying at Man United. So she has some great pictures at Old Trafford at the weekend, and we wish her all the best. And hopefully over the coming weeks get some good news that she's been able to get a contract. So it's a remarkable story, and it should be a massive coup for women here and females here in Queensland.
Absolutely.
Shows a pathway opportunity as well, and just the chance to make it to the big stage and get there nice and early as well at such a young age. So all the best to Layla. Hope she cracks it, and it'll be exciting to see. In the FQPL 2 men's, Taringa Rovers suffering another defeat. They were the finals-bound team last year, so sort of struggling a bit early days, but hopefully they can bounce back. Surfers Paradise, though, they continue their winning ways and continue their big winning ways.
Yeah. It'll be interesting. They've got some battles coming up in the next few weeks. I'm just trying to... We'll obviously cover it who they've got this weekend, but I think it'll be a really close game, whoever they're coming up against this weekend. But they've recruited well, as we said. They're a powerhouse in what was previously the Gold Coast Premier League, and they find themselves with a pretty strong goal difference after the first 2 weeks. Just a good outfit.
Yeah, they won 8-2 with 6 different goal scorers, so quality across the park from them, which is good to see. Holland Park got up over North Star, and Albany Creek, another one of those newly promoted teams, getting up over Wynnum 4-2.
I will mention, we'll touch upon the Virginia United, and I'll bring it back to Layla Proctor. So Virginia United, you'll see there 4 goals to Dylan.
Brother.
So that's that's Layla's brother, banged home 4, and then the coach of Virginia is Matty Proctor, which is Layla's dad. So Virginia, though, probably another one worth touching upon. They come up against Albany Creek this week at Walter Park on Friday night. Both of them again sitting 2-0, undefeated at the point of the table. So Virginia made a big focus last year in the FQPL 2 on youth, and they really promoted playing under 23s players. And I think you're starting to see some of that bear fruit now, where they're getting young players pushed through to the first team and playing quite well. Good outfit.
Yeah,
so.
That's exciting. Just covering on some quick FQPL 2 results before we move on. Albany Creek and AC Carina played out 1-1 draw. Rabina got up over Annerley 2-0. Ipswich Knights beat Grange away from home, and Eastern Suburbs beat Lakes. Their sort of second string team there.
Broadbeach over Taringa. It looks like again in this league that Broadbeach will be a very strong outfit, as well as UQ as well again. So Broadbeach probably pushing forward. We've got 2 results in the first 2 rounds as well, and they'll be pushing to get up into that FQPL 1 women's space. Yeah,
fantastic. Looking forward to the week ahead in the NPL and FQPL sort of SEQ space here. Feature match for Friday night, Logan Lightning, Gold Coast United. It'll be a tough trip for Gold Coast United to come up to Logan. Both teams have had an interesting sort of start to the year. Gold Coast United win and a draw, and Logan a loss and a draw, but looked good for both of those results. So
another one, weather permitting. Both of them have got midweek cup matches on Tuesday, so I think they both ideally like to get the game out of the way on Friday. Logan took a point from their first week against the Roar. Probably want to try and get a couple more on the table now, given they went down to Sunny Coast. But Gold Coast United still sitting undefeated, a draw and a loss. So it'd be good to see Gray and Rick go head-to-head in that.
Well, Rick was a former jockey from Gold Coast United there, so that'll be an interesting battle for him. And then conversely as well, a lot of players from Logan have made the switch to Gold Coast United. So speaking on those old rivalries and stuff there before, it'd be interesting to see how the Connor Smiths and Liam Gouldings will sort of get on there. That'll be interesting to see how that goes.
Speaking of rivalries, the next one you're going to cover.
Absolutely. A former team in Gold Coast Knights. Brisbane City travel down to Croatia tomorrow, or Saturday afternoon, sorry. How are you feeling for that match after a rough start to your season, and a strong start for Gold Coast Knights?
Yeah, I think that there's always big games, right? So as players and as clubs, we always look forward to playing in the big games. I think that it's Gold Coast Knights have a great start to the season. We haven't got on the ladder yet, but looking at how we've gone about our last 2 games, I think that we've haven't got the results, but we're performing okay. It's going to be a tough game. We've got some very good players down there. It's also going to be a hostile crowd, and, which is great. I mean, I think that one of the things that I want to try and encourage here is spectator environment, right?
Yeah.
So, when there's good crowds, when it's vocal, it just adds to the atmosphere and the environment. Our players know, obviously, it's a big game as well. Every weekend's a big game. It's Olympic first round of the season. It's Gold Coast down there, so we've got Lions at home in a couple of weeks. We've got Moreton Bay, local derby. So from a player's point of view, first and foremost, you always want to be involved in those top games. It's going to be fierce. It's going to be competitive. It's going to be a hard match because they've got some good players and they started the season well. But we're also going down there to get ourselves off the ladder.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess I was going to say, and you probably don't want to tell us too much as well. Are you going to be making your way back into the lineup, or is it something you're going to maybe keep until Saturday afternoon, 5 minutes before kickoff? I'm back in training, put it that way.
Okay. So let's see how the week goes. Yep. I've got some very good defenders that I've been able to recruit this year. Yep. Jackson Simkin, Luke Plummer, as well as Bowlesy and Jonesy from last year.
I was going to say, Hoffy's obviously making his return to Gold Coast Knights as well.
Players, Hoffy's making a return. I mean, look, I've made no secret that I'm obviously at the end of my career. So it'll be naive of me to think that I can't, start to plan in a succession, right? So, I've recruited well in Luke and Jackson. Jackson's a very good young emerging central defender that's played very well the last couple of games, right? So it's you still got to compete for your shirt, right? Because that's the whole player coach role. It's always a fine balance, and you're always relying upon your assistants and the people around you to say, I'm expecting a knock on the shoulder one day. Matt, come on, get yourself out, sort of thing. So it's again, if it's me or if it's one of the other defenders playing, then I'm more confident. Hoffy coming back to his old club, he's had a great a career at Gold Coast Knights. We're very, very pleased to have him at Brisbane City now. And he's had a good start for us as well, and I expect him to play a prominent role in our season this year.
Yeah, fantastic. And Gold Coast Knights took on Capalaba on the weekend and left it very late, the 85th minute for them to sort of get on the scoreboard there. So Capalaba really pushed them after they put 6 past lines. So it's hard to know what to expect with that team there. And as you said, there's no tight game, no easy game there.
It's two contrasting games, right? So obviously watching both of them and clipping both of them, there's an open game against Lions and there's a bit more closed game against Capalaba. Again, different environments, different feels, different tactics. So it's interesting to see how a Gold Coast Knights play against Lions and also how they play against Capalaba. Right? So I'd like to think that Capalaba were very disciplined and organised, and they made it difficult for Gold Coast Knights. Similarly, I know the blowout score at Lions, but that was still a competitive game. So it's there's no easy games because regardless if it's a Capalaba or at Lions or wherever it may be, I just hope that the rain stays away and we're able to play down at Gold Coast Knights, because the last thing anyone needs right now is
another washout.
Another washout.
Peninsula Power have struggled at the start of the season. 2 losses on the trot in 11th place, the former premiers. They take on Eastern Suburbs, 2 former FQPL sides. So that'll be an interesting battle. Who have started well.
Came through together. They obviously got a good relationship as well, given East played at AJ Kelly 2 weeks ago, and thanks to Peninsula Power for obviously hosting them there. But they'll go back now as the away team, and obviously both want to take away 3 points. They need a result. I know Power really want to get their season underway, and similar to you, probably two clubs that we would have thought maybe had a point or a couple of points on the board by now, and probably want to get off the mark. So interesting to see.
But it's still early. It's only 2 games. I think that wait to round 4, 5, 6, and we'll see how the dust settles from the league. So.
Yeah, I think it's good perspective, because I didn't want to. I'm not going to hand too much to you, but also I guess to the point. But you're right. Like, it is, people maybe take away too many outcomes and
so
perspectives on 2 games, but you're right. 2 of 22. It's less than 10%, so there's plenty to come. It's interesting.
And I think you'll find that teams will go through different phases as well. Some teams will continue to progress and develop across the season. Some teams might start and then drop off. Like, a lot depends upon availability. A lot depends on conditions and environment. A lot depends on performances and like I said, after 2 games, I think it's important that certainly myself as well, we just stay focused on where we want to take the season. So it's 2 games in. Let's see after.
I think just one more point I'll make on that as well. When you said the ebbs and flows, there's a couple of factors that again are outside of our control. Once again, this year, one, the weather we've touched upon, but where in previous years, and I was talking to someone in New South Wales about this on the weekend, we had to learn to live with COVID, and we had to learn to live with COVID as in we really wasn't on our doorstep, and it was very rare we had COVID cases. We are now having to learn to live with it in terms of we're going to have players. You're going to miss a couple of players throughout this year, I'm sure. Unfortunately, touch wood, but we all are. Where teams are going to say, hey, we're missing these 2 and that player, and that's going to affect obviously results as we go along as well. So it's going to be one of those ones where squad size, strength and depth is probably going to play a role as well. Yeah, absolutely. I think that and it comes back down to your planning. We had probably the first time leading into the Olympic game. During that week was the first time I had every single squad member actually on the training pitch. Right, but in the 18 months or 2 years that I've been head player coach now, I don't think I've ever had that. I've ever had that. And I was saying to my assistant coaches, I'm like, I haven't had to. I mean, a lot of our squad is mixed of experienced players, but also a lot of the 18s and 23s. That we've got several players that we promoted into first team contracts. So there's a young contingent, but then we've always brought up 18s and 23s into the training squad because of injuries or COVID or maybe. So it was random to have a full 21 players actually training, but then. In that, there's COVID and a couple of little injuries, and all of a sudden you're back to 17, 18 again. So recruitment and your planning, your depth for your squads, and what's coming underneath, I think, is going to be paramount this year.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Another big fixture coming up, just in the last one in the NPL men's here. Lions against Sunny Coast Wanderers. Lions sort of, had that a big loss against Gold Coast Knights, but a big win against Power in terms of the importance of the result, I'd say. And Sunny Coast Wanderers have started
2-0.
Yeah.
Paul's doing really well from Sunny Coast. So, all the best to obviously them to continue that run. But I know Lions, as we know, are going to continue to push and will want to take a result away.
Yeah. Into the FQPL 1 men's. Two sort of big matches to call out here. Brisbane Strikers, top of the table, playing Mitchelton, who quite a few were predicting would be pushing for that top 4 spot. They've had a rough start to the year, two losses there. So they see themselves in 11th, but Strikers on top in first with their 3 wins. And then the feature match on the Sunday afternoon, Rochdale Rovers against Caboolture. It'll be good to see how Terry Kirkham takes his boys up against Rochdale, who were a top 2 side last year.
Obviously behind City. So, and this will be probably, again, now Caboolture had a good result against Southside Eagles in round 1, but really wanted to push it and take it to Rochdale. And depending on what their availability looks like, that'll be really quite a close game. Question I was going to ask you, Matty, is now that you have obviously moved into the NPL with City again this year, have you kept an eye on results or a cursory look at all in FQPL 1?
Yeah, no, of course. I think like it was for our experiences last year. It was a very, very tough comp. You know, the games we had against Rochdale, Thunder, even Ipswich Knights done really well for probably 70% of the season. They tapered off towards the end, but it was, especially playing away from home and the competition is strong. This year, I think it's probably stronger than what it was last year.
Yeah.
So I've still got friends that are still playing. I've still got friends that are still involved in Scotty at Rochdale, for example. So I'd like to keep a little close eye on them. I think that they're all vying for that top spot. I think it's gonna be very, very close. But yeah. After I check the NPL results, I go on to the FQPL ones.
Next one on the list. Across to the FQPL women's competition, we'll call out a top 3 clash, which I didn't think I'd probably, based on last year's results, you didn't think that'd come about. But Peninsula Power in 2nd place and Thunder in 3rd place, both after strong starts to their years. They take on each other at AJ Kelly Park this weekend, so that'll be one to watch in the FQPL women's space. Moving down, as you touched on before, Albany Creek taking on Virginia, another top of the table clash there, top 3 sides.
I think they haven't played each other in a number of years, Virginia. They played in the BPL, 2018, 2019 Cat 1, 2020 Cat 1, and then obviously inaugural FQPL 2 team last year. Came out with our restructured pyramid. And then Albany Creek have rightfully earned their way back into that level of competition. I feel, if I'm honest, like Albany Creek have probably got one where they've got a bit of a chip on their shoulder, and I'm not having an opinion, but as in they want to really prove that, hey, we are here for a reason. Yeah. So I think this will be quite a feisty battle, and I think it's going to be a really good game. Yeah. I'll be out there actually going to go watch the game. So absolutely,
one to definitely watch on the Friday night. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Service Paradise, they take on Wynnum as well. So a big club in Brisbane football. Wynnum Wolves and up against a big side from the South Coast in Surfers. So see if they can continue their goal scoring.
Again, it's probably another one of those ones. Again, Surfers want to prove their sort of medal, and then Wynnum have come back down through the pyramid, obviously from FQPL 1 to 2 last year, and want to say, well, hold on, we're better than that. We want to be back up the top. So it'll be a good fixture.
Yeah, absolutely. Quite a few other games in that league, all sort of in and around that sort of
really close league. And I don't know how far down sort of you're watching that, but this league, the FQPL 2 league, will be neck and neck all year. Like it will be from 1 to 12. We might get a point where you can throw a rug over.
Throw a blanket.
It's going to be very close.
Looking at some of the teams there, obviously Magic United want to be progressive in up for the structure. Greens Thistle had a right season last year as well. Souths. We played Surfers in pre-season last year, a very, very competitive team. Obviously, we played against Wynnum, very difficult to beat. So I think that league's going to be very, very tight. I think those clubs that I just put out there are probably going to be vying for those top spots.
Yeah. Absolutely. We'll just cover on the FQPL 2 women's fixtures just before we get out. Robina City and Broadbeach United. Definitely the fixture to watch from this competition. Coast Battle, Broadbeach, been a powerhouse in the former Brisbane Women's Premier League. Yep. And then take on a Robina side that has really strengthened in the off-season. Cass Safina from Gold Coast United.
A number of former NPL players, heading down there and making the trek to Robina, and maybe just, I don't know what the training program is like, maybe it's one less training session or something, and they just wanted to maybe play at a different level. But both of those teams I'd expect to be really up the top towards the end of the season. Yeah, absolutely. All right, I suppose throw a bit more of the spotlight on you, Matt. You've had a well accoladed player, but you wear a lot of hats in the Brisbane City camp at the moment. No less chief flood cleanup officer. How has the club? Obviously, Brisbane City got smashed by Kedron Brook overflowing there, and it's caused absolute devastation to a big club in Brisbane there. How is the club flood cleanup progressing? Yeah,
it's not uncommon for the field to go under whenever there's big rains. Probably in the last 10 years, it's probably happened 3 or 4 times. So for the pitch, it's kind of common. For the changing rooms, and the gym, it's common.
Yep.
It's the first time that it's ever gone above into the clubhouse. So seeing some of the footage and it happened so quickly, like literally in a few hours. It's just we moved everything up to the clubhouse thinking it was safe, and then all of a sudden it's just risen to the point where you got to be safe and kind of get out of the environment because the whole area kind of goes under. What really is remarkable is the hundreds of people that are members of our club were there the next day, and literally you woke up next morning and it was all gone. It left devastation, but it literally just came in and then just left. So the hundreds of people that come through from donating food, water, generators, brooms, wheelbarrows. For that subsequent week, it was football kind of took a backward step, and it was just ensuring that you see a community come together to really pull through. So. Obviously, there's massive effects after. Like if you was to arrive at Brisbane City at the moment, everything's nice and clean and everything's nice and tidy, and on the surface, it looks like we're very close to return. We've actually got a game scheduled, return of CTM on the 9th or 10th now, I believe, because our girls are going up to the Matildas game, which is amazing. So obviously the only downside is obviously we don't have lights. So we've got a big issue with our lights at the moment, which our clubs spend a lot of time with council because there's prior to the floods there's a big master plan that's occurring at City, new facilities, new upgrades. It's a really City's a big progressive club that's gone through a lot of infrastructure changes over the last 12 to 18 months, which is developing what we're trying to achieve there. So. You get hit with the floods, and it kind of throws things off. So we're trying to fast forward or bring forward a lot of the plans that were going to happen at the end of the season anyway, for obvious reasons. Yeah. Well,
before you got hit by the floods, Brisbane Spencer Park had just been announced as one of the training facilities for the Women's World Cup in 2023. So I suppose it makes sense now to. If you have lost so much sort of stuff, why kind of keep it there? Why not just use that opportunity to sort of upgrade and improve the existing sort of facilities?
Yeah, I guess we've been working behind the scenes to try and upgrade our facilities. We've been working behind the scenes to expand our facilities. I think everyone knows that Brisbane City doesn't have much space. Like we acquired a bowls club for our SAP players a couple of years ago, which is fantastic. Our SAP department have got their own little excellence centre, which is great. Nice. They got flooded also, and then we're trying to, or we have been working with the council with the new sports precinct that's going in along the creek, which is great. So with the Women's World Cup and the council, in terms of we've just created a high performance centre upstairs at Brisbane City now. So we have all our recovery centres, Pilates, physio rooms up there. So again, in I guess a short space of time, what we're trying to plan for another 2, 3, 4, 5 years is some really exciting stuff. So at the end of the season, there was some major works going on at the club. So we're trying to, like I said, bring that forward now because we have the World Cup training base to come up as well. Yeah. So unfortunately, with that, at the moment, it takes time because our lights are probably our major issue. The field now is, in a couple of weeks it'll be playable. Like the club's doing some major works on it now, so it should be good to go. Yeah, as long as those pizza ovens are safe, mate. That's surely that's the actual priority. But pizza ovens are there, mate. Pizza ovens are there. Yeah.
Good stuff. So with the 2022 season, obviously last year was an amazing success, a fantastic year for Brisbane City. We sort of touched on it a little bit before, but the strengthening of the squad, and then the current members of the squad, that squad depth, and your goals for 2022. How does that look? Paint us that picture for your 2022 season.
I guess it goes back to it was football in its poetic motion, Perth against Olympic, the first game of the season, right? It wasn't planned because of the schedule. But the last game in the NPL was we got relegated Olympic, right? So it was,
good point. Good contrast.
But I guess we had an objective in the FQPL, and it was obviously to rebuild a squad with a vision in mind of where we want to be in over a longer term period. So we wanted to really spend some time promoting our good youth players coming through, but obviously combine them with experienced players that can probably deliver and perform in a philosophy of play that I want this club and this team to play. So we were very, very lucky to recruit the players we did in the FQPL with the longer term mindset that we're trying to build something over a longer term period. Like, being realistic, we can't expect to go bang, 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 2 years in a row sort of thing. There's no doubt that
Juventus did it.
I'm playing it down on
I'm confused. They went to Serie B, they came straight up and they were on the Premier. Come on, Italian connection.
But that was the point, right? It was to build a squad within the FQPL that could spend a year together, form an environment and a culture and an understanding, and then if all went to plan, and luckily it did, that we can go straight into the NPL with a core group of players and have that already understanding, then bring in players from external that are experienced NPL players to then be highly competitive. Like our objective is to be very, very competitive this year. I don't say we're going to go and win it. I don't set challenges or targets that we should be 1 or 2 or wherever it may be. But we're building a squad and have built a squad, in my opinion, that should be very, very competitive this year. So as that unfolds, like I said, whatever happened in 2021 is gone. Like I say to my players now, it's gone. You can look back when you retire and talk about your grandkids with that, and it was a fantastic year. Like to not even drop anything is a credit to the players, because to go through different challenges through the year as well. Like obviously the first 5-6 games of the FQPL, he wants to smash City and bring you down and keep you down. it was fierce battles you had to overcome. Then it went through probably a period of the middle third of the season where it was okay, well, it's just expected that City are going to win. Then as it comes towards the end of the season, it's then fighting for your final spots and relegation. So you go through it's a normal season, but that's done. So the players got to understand, and they are. It's that okay, we're now in the NPL where it's it's tighter, it's more competitive, it's more fierce. You're playing against better players. We're having to adapt to that. So we're in that journey at the moment, and we're in obviously we haven't won in the first 2 games, but again, I'm very confident within my squad and my team that we'll continue to develop this season. And so rather than look at the short term couple of weeks, there's a bigger vision and there's a bigger plan in mind.
Good perspective, really good perspective.
I touched on before on the many hats that you wear at Brisbane City. Obviously, head coach of the men's team is one, but also the technical director. You obviously play yourself, class centre back. It's good to see you still out there. How do you juggle, or how do you handle that, the player coach role within your team? Obviously,
I've got one more to add to it, and the fact that you're not.
I'm scared now.
This is something I always find really interesting when I've watched people transition into a player coach role, and it happens, as we know, probably more at this level in football, and then obviously at the pro level. Although we have seen it somewhat, Wayne Rooney, etc., happen as well. How do you do it without being captain? So I'm actually really interested to know the dynamic between you and Bowlesy, because he's the skipper from what I can appreciate. Yeah, but you're the coach, but you're next to him on the pitch. Yeah. So who gets and it's not something I've ever experienced when I was playing. So how do you actually balance that? And then probably to Cal's overarching question, how do you balance all the roles that you're carrying at the moment?
Probably not a simple answer in that. I think that when I'll go back to when I was at maybe with Brisbane Strikers when I first moved to Australia, I wasn't the captain. Then James Johnson was the captain there. That's JJ. So then I was offered the captain in the second year when I moved to the Fury and then the Roar. Obviously Matty Mackay was captain, and then I came in after that. Regardless of if I'm coach or regardless if I'm captain, whichever it may be, how I communicate and how I perform as a player doesn't really change. Does that make sense? So I'm still going to communicate. I'm still going to organise, because part of my role as a defender is defenders should be doing that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? So I guess the difference being a coach is that you have to Well, number one, you got to perform.
You got to execute the game plan.
I don't want to get a tap on the shoulder, but you've got to perform first and foremost. But then you do have to broadly think differently, because there's some moments in games, and this is why I've got some great support staff around me. There's some moments in games where I can't think as a coach. Like a lot of the time, I can still play and think like a coach, because that's part of how I've always thought about the game. So when I'm playing a game anyway, I'm always thinking tactically anyway. I'm always, I try and say to our players now, like the higher level, you've got to think quicker. You've got to see things quicker. So I think I've always had a good ability to be able to read the game and kind of see the game. But there are moments in games where I've just got to focus on that particular role, and that's why I rely on my coaching staff to be able to see the things that I don't. You also get different perspective on the pitch too. Yeah. Like obviously there's been occasions where when I took over the club and I was out for a period of time and watching from the sideline, it's a completely different perspective, right? So I actually think sometimes there's a benefit to me being on the pitch because I get to see it from different angles as well. Bowlesy still performs exactly the same if I'm next to him or not. He still communicates and organises exactly the same if I'm on the pitch or off the pitch. So it generally works. I mean, maybe it might be you have to get Bowlesy on the show and ask him what's it like next to the old dinosaur at the back sort of thing. But I'd like to think that as part of development of younger defenders as well, Bowlesy's different because he's very, very experienced. Jonesy's very, very experienced. He's more quiet, but that's he's very experienced in different ways. Obviously, I recruited Luke Plummer as well because he's an experienced central defender, and obviously Jackson. So if I can educate and help a lot of the younger defenders in and around me, because that's what I expect and demand of central defenders. I don't think, generally speaking, within the football community nowadays, there's as much communication as what there was in my generation as such. I think that's a big gap in kind of where we are from a development point of view is to encourage players to be able to communicate and organise and talk, but not just commentating on games. There's a lot of players that will sound loud, but they're just commentating. But it's actually giving good information of reading the play, of understanding how opposition, where they're going to go, and anticipation. So if that can be rubbed off on a few of the younger central defenders that's coming through, predominantly our 16s, 18s, 23s, and first team at the moment. So that by the time they can step into that, hopefully we've got some good defenders. Yeah,
I mean, probably the takeaway I'd have from that as well is you can never have too much talking and strength in numbers. And that's something, I mean, I've obviously not played at the level you've played at and I haven't played for a number of years, but I just know when I was playing, one thing that I really required as a player was communication. I needed to be told, one, yelled at, but two, I would happily do the yelling. Like communication is so critical, and I don't think... from my takeaway from your points, I don't think it's a bad thing to have you and Bowlesy being both quite vocal on the pitch to be able to get to an outcome. And obviously, to your point, you're then going to come off and see it from a different angle as a coach than he'll see it as a captain. So that's probably
I think, again, there's different tones, right? The context is everything, and the message is everything. Like, sometimes we're on the pitch and we're talking amongst ourselves like this, and there's other times where it's raised and everybody can hear. But what's the message? And I think that's probably the main point of difference is what a player's saying. Is it just commentating on stuff, or are you actually trying to help and anticipate and read the game, to prevent or to exploit opportunity? I think that's probably the higher the level you go, and the better the quality of players are able to do that. And it's having each other accountable. Like even back at the Roar, I had Shane Stefanutu always on my left. I had Jade North on the right, or Luke DeVere, or Big Mo, or then we have Franich on the other side, and Eric or Bratty in midfield. We'd be shouting at each other.
I was going to say, you're not shy of a voice there. Jeez, everyone's
sorry, we had Theo behind as well.
Yeah.
Right, so but that was massive strength, because we all kept each other in line, we all kept each other accountable, and we all knew our own roles and responsibilities. And I think that's key, like having your roles and knowing and doing your job. Like, you've got to do your job. Like, to do anything within any league, you've got to do your job. If you don't do your job, then having and holding each other accountable when you don't do your job. Now, that's probably the difference. I'm not saying within my career, I've been in teams where players have been too scared to say something to other players because of whether they're fearful or not. It's not about that. I think for me, it's about a collective understanding of this is what we have to do to go and win a game of football.
Yeah,
it's quite simple, really.
Yeah, fair enough. Moving on with in the coaching realm, What are your, I suppose, aspirations as a coach? Like you've sort of touched on the fact that you'll be, reaching to the twilight of the career here, and you may get that tap on the shoulder. But what are your sort of longer term coaching goals? Obviously, you've played under Ange Postecoglou, who is doing amazing things at Celtic at the moment, and taken them by storm. Yeah. I don't think the Scottish media kind of knew how to handle that one, but he's probably like been one of the Aussie coaches who have sort of really gone through. Started down South Melbourne, you at Roar, Australian gig, then gone through a bit of a turbulent sort of time, from there. So what are your goals, sort of long term?
I'm a very ambitious person. I'm very driven. Yeah. I think that's part of someone's nature. Like whether it's been playing football or coaching or running a football club. Being a director of football and looking after 600 players and 35 teams, to being a technical director for 13s up and playing in head coach role. There's lots of roles in there. I think that the biggest balance on that is probably the family time. Yeah. Seriously, like
family.
From a juggling point of view, because again, Brisbane City is a very progressive club. I think that we're 70 years old this year. Yeah. It's ambitious that it wants to be the best that it can be, and I guess we joined the club at a point where it had an unbelievable base to be able to do something special within Australian football, and that's our goal. So that's a continual drive. So I want to coach at the highest level. I'm very, very progressive with that. I obviously want to build a club, to actually build a club at a club that wants to be successful, and have key people around me that shares that same motivation. Continually drives me as well. So. Director of football or technical director or head coach, I want to go as far as I can with all of them.
Yeah.
Obviously, from the coaching sense, I guess I wouldn't be at Brisbane City if I felt that they wanted just to stabilise and be content with where they are. Yeah. So being part of a club that does want to go to the national second division, being part of a club that does want to go beyond that, is kind of why I'm here, and it's why a lot of my colleagues and a lot of the members that are working around us are there as well. So I guess that aligns with my ambition as a person. It aligns with where I want to take this club, and we're not. It's slow. I mean, obviously at this level, within the resources and the environment that we're in, all the challenges that we have, it's going to take time. But I think that there's a lot of positivity in where we're going, and that excites me. Yeah. So on a club level, it's about growth. On a personal level, I always want to challenge myself and perform as high as I can in all aspects of my life.
Yeah, fantastic.
I'm going to put my Queensland hat on here and probably speak just briefly to your comment around the NSD and potential national second division. And as I mentioned earlier in the show, I was in New South Wales, and something I took away, as I said, was there an off-field element to it as well that I wanted to understand or better assess down in New South Wales. And I'm going to do a trip down to Victoria later in the year to have a look at that and speak to some clubs as well. I probably don't think there is another member federation such as Queensland at the moment who has as many clubs who are working towards or in a position to make that step should and if it were to become available. Victoria will tell you otherwise, and I'm happy to, I don't know if anyone in Victoria watched the show, but they'll try and tell me they already are the NSD, as we know. They'll say, well, this already is the National Second Division, NPL Victoria. But as I've said, is on the pitch, as we know, and sporting merit's a key part of progression through any sort of pyramid. But I just think we've got a number of clubs, not only just at the NPL level, but as we go down the pyramid as well across the state, who really want to be in a position to platform and push forward. And City, I absolutely know are part of that. So it's quite exciting.
Well, it's. I think I touched on it earlier when we arrived at City. It was in a particular point, and the board were very ambitious in terms of where they wanted to go. There was obviously a shorter term plan. The relegation obviously wasn't part of that plan for obvious reasons. But when you're trying to build a club, it's not just looking at the first team. So everything that we're doing at the moment is creating and developing infrastructure so that when there is an opportunity, hopefully there is an opportunity sooner rather than later, then we have all of our competencies and all our compliance, all of our development systems, our academy process, our facilities. You're not only looking at that, you're looking at the development of coaches, you're looking at stadia, you're looking at expanding what we've got. I'm very lucky that I have some very very good board members that are very knowledgeable in business and growth, that are very supportive and have that vision as well. So again, it's for a lot of the roles that many of us. I mean, I have many roles, but I've also had colleagues that have many roles as well, and that's the environment, right? Like you go to most clubs, I'll be surprised if you have tens of staff. Like within our club, we have a key group of coaches or a key group of members that are operationally day to day, but it's really important that you have that strategic hat on at times, and you work in a building rather than working in it. So yeah.
Yeah,
interesting.
Yeah. All right, we're going to move up the state a bit more and touch on the regional roundup. Just touch on a few of the conferences in northern, central, and other parts of the southeast Queensland conference.
Yep.
So up in northern or in Townsville, MA Olympic edged out Townsville Warriors in their match of the week, 3-2. That was a fantastic game.
Olympic, one of the powerhouses up there, and they're still alive as well in the Cup Women's Super Cup. So that'll reach a penultimate conclusion regionally in the coming month or so. As we see again, you would have seen we obviously hosted the Cup Women's Super Cup down at City last year in the final, giving their regional clubs, and I know I've said it once or twice before, but that opportunity to then challenge themselves against sort of a more metro-based clubs.
Yep.
Olympic will absolutely be there, as will Warriors. So.
Yeah. In the far north and Gulf region, they actually play in the Cup Women's Super Cup this weekend, or Friday night, I'm sorry. Leichhardt and Edge Hill. Sorry?
It is Leichhardt and Edge Hill.
So that's for who qualified through to play MA Olympic in that match. So
correct.
That'll be interesting.
I'm glad you're across that because you're streaming it, so I'm glad you know what's going on.
Got to lock that one in, but yes. On the Central Coast, the FQPL women, Clinton continue their winning ways against Narrabeen. They've scored 19 goals in the first two games and conceding just one.
It was a big 12-0 round one result, got them off the mark.
Yeah. So
with a point.
Yeah.
And in the Wide Bay region, the Australia Cup fixture that happened between Fraser Flames and Across the Waves. Across the Waves walked away 6-1 victors over Fraser Flames. Apparently, they read a little bit too deep into the calendar, saw they had a bye that week, and half the Fraser Flames team made plans, so they were missing quite a few key players in that matchup. So. Whoops.
Yeah, a bit of a challenge, but as we know, football always comes first and is the priority.
Absolutely.
Don't go to weddings. You should know this, mate. Now you don't go to weddings.
Down in the south coast, the FQPL 3 men's league favourites Palm Beach lost 2-0 to Rabina. So.
Yeah, I think Rabina from memory. I can't remember. He's just slipped my mind, but the coach from Rabina's come across from the ring, Lee Vernon. I think Rabina will be a team to be reckoned with down on the coast this year. I think most of the clubs looking through at the early season predictions had Rabina in the 4 as well anyway, but certainly something from Palm Beach and Bretty, the coach down there.
Former club of...
of yours, but Brett Budway's the coach down there, and he made it his goal to be right there in the playoff at the end of the year for FQPL 2, so they'll have some work to do as we go forward.
I think that the new structures kind of created a lot of excitement back in that as well. I think that a lot of the clubs, especially on the coast and up and down, have got ambitions, which is great. So when it comes to Palm Beach versus Rabina or Surf, it's going to be a good comp.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And just to whip out to the Darling Downs as well, St Albans yet to get a point on the board for their season.
A lot of player turnover
last year.
Yeah, Dan, the coach there, and he's scored a lot of turnover. So I think they probably have gone straight into a rebuilding phase this year. So
it's such a shame after such a good season last year.
First ever premiership for the club last year, so that's all right. These things happen in swings and roundabouts. That's football, isn't it, Matty? These things happen.
That's it.
Just would like to preview some Australia Cup and Cup Women's Super Cup fixtures. That Australia Cup happens midweek next week. And when the Cup of Women's Super Cup, when are they?
They are also due to play the following week.
Weekend,
it is.
Yeah, so Brisbane Strikers and Lions headlining that. That'll be an incredibly interesting battle. That'll be live streamed. Absolutely.
Borean and Farina making their debut up against their former foes in Lions. I'm sure there'll be plenty of banter and plenty of push and shove, as we said, and that's obviously the beauty of having that player window and the transfers and the transition of players to other clubs creates those rivalries organically. I think that'll be an absolute cracker of a game. Yeah,
well, Strikers are 3-0, so from their season, so they'll go into it with a lot of confidence. They've strengthened their squad as well compared to sort of where they were at last year, where they probably couldn't really compete as well as they could have this year. So very interesting to see that one. And also Service Paradise Apollo hosting Peninsula Power, who are one team's going flying and scoring goals, and the other from last year's premiers. Not got off to the best start, so
battling away.
That'll be an interesting time.
There is another one you haven't shouted out, and you've got to make sure we make use of him being on the show.
Well, I know it. It's,
okay, you didn't have to hold that one, but yeah.
Up against Yeronga.
Yes.
A bit of an unknown for you guys.
It is,
FQPL 6. So,
correct, yeah.
How do you approach that game?
Same as it, going to go and win the game. I think that that's the beauty of the cup. I think I'm very pleased that Australia in the last couple of years since the FA Cups you started introducing that, because you have the bigger clubs against an FQPL 6 team. So it'll be a great occasion for football. Obviously, it's an opportunity for us to be able to go there and start our cup run. Even going back to the Strikers and Lions and us versus Lions last year in the cup.
Round 7, yeah.
It was, for us, it was an opportunity to test where we're at. With our squad last year and kind of give it a good go. So there's no doubt the Strikers are going to be in the same boat with that. Same as Surfers versus Power. Cup games are one-off games, and anything can happen, right? So obviously, we're taking it very, very seriously, and we want to progress as far as we can go in the cup. So we'll be going there to go.
I think honestly,
we'll be going there strong.
Yeah, for Yeronga, it'd be really interesting to be inside that locker room amongst like group of players, because they've played 5 competitive fixtures this year, and every single game has managed to exceed the previous game in terms of the gravity or heightened experience of that game. So first game of the season for them was an FFA or Australia Cup game. Yep, so they obviously got a result. That was a huge thing for them to be playing federated football, part of the model. Okay, no one expected us to win. We're on to the third round. As our format works, they won that. Okay, no one expected us. We'll worry about that. Then they made their debut in actual competition.
Yep.
Okay, whatever it was. And then the next week they played up against Old Bridge, which was part of our Harmony round last week. They're 2 teams that we expect to probably be at the top of the table. And a very emotional game. Got the win 1-0, which was their closest win.
Yeah, wow.
And now for their 5th sort of game, they will most likely have a league fixture this week. But we'll be up against you guys. Like, it's just, you can only imagine for the, you know what I mean? The transition.
Cool
They've just gone like this, and I can only imagine, I said some of the boys in that locker room must be going, geez, wow. This is, their poor hearts are just pumping like this.
Yeah.
Well, you think if I was in that changing room, I'd be so excited to play against, it's like, to play against a tier team, a few leagues above you want to go there and try and knock them off, right? You want to go and try, regardless of the levels, so... Again, it's we know that we're going to go there, but we're certainly going to take it very, very seriously.
Absolutely.
I believe the winner of that fixture as well takes on the winner of Service Paradise and Peninsula Power.
No, I don't. No, it's Gold Coast Knights versus Runaway Bay.
Sorry.
Yeah, the winner of that will play Power. I can't remember the winner of City Yeronga. But yeah, Gold Coast Knights, the winner of that, and Runaway Bay will play Peninsula. Peninsula have got
we'll edit that out.
They've got a couple of challenges ahead of them over the next couple of weeks. So
just touching on some other business before we give a final plug to Matt Smith's game on the weekends. The holiday clinics being run across Queensland, of course. It's not too late to sign up. We're spanning right across the state.
I don't even think you need to list them, mate. Don't go list them, they're everywhere.
We'll get a graphic
jump
made
on
up, put it on. But yes.
Jump on Play Football and just have a look and sign up to your local centre.
Yeah, for more information as well, head to footballqueensland.com.au. No doubt you'll be able to find something there. But yeah, developing your skills at such a young age, very important. And yeah, hopefully they can get some good attendances. And it's also a three-day academy sort of product as well. So
no, some good numbers, and still got plenty of capacity to take on board some new sign-ups and participants. So get out there and enjoy the holidays, and parents can take a few days off.
Yeah,
looking after the kids.
Holiday activity is fantastic. Well, Matt, thank you so much for joining us on the show today. It's been very insightful. I've really enjoyed talking to you and sort of hearing your insights on the coaching and just like your philosophies and your ambitions moving forward. I found that very interesting and very rewarding. So yeah, all the best for your game this weekend up against Gold Coast Knights. We did touch on that in the preview, but and obviously the rest of the season. So thanks for joining us.
Yeah, welcome. Thanks for having us on the show.
Thanks, buddy. Yeah. Thanks for having me, Carl.
No worries. Thank you, Dan. All right, for all fixtures and all the information across our leagues, make sure you head to the website footballqueensland.com.au. Tune into FQTV over the weekend to catch the streams, only if you cannot get out to the grounds to go and help put some money behind the bar in the canteen and support those clubs that have been affected by the floods, or just supporting the clubs in general. That's always good. So thanks for joining us this week. Looking forward to seeing you next week. Cheers.